Welcome to In Bed with Blair. I am your host, Blair Thompson. I am super excited because this podcast has been in the works for about 4 to 5 years. And so the fact that I'm able to share it with you guys, I'm super excited about it. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you guys subscribe, rate the podcast, leave me some comments. And if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. But you guys, I can't really describe what this podcast means to me, and I'm trying really hard not to cry, and I'm not going to fold, okay? I am not gonna fall out. But this podcast has been a baby of mine because for so long I've been working on it, and there's just been so many different evolutions of it, and so the fact that it's here, baby, you can't tell me nothing. Also, I know in the teaser I mentioned having champagne and having a drink while you're watching or listening. I am drinking coffee today. My iced white chocolate mocha from Starbucks with oat milk, a pump of brown sugar, and a pump of vanilla. Cheers, y'all, okay, before we get into it. In Bed with Blair, what is it? Because In Bed with Blair, it does sound enticing, doesn't it? It is not that type of podcast. Doesn't mean that we will not be touching on the subject of sex, but we are not in this episode. This podcast is about basically becoming the best version of yourself. And I really thought that I wanted to have a guest my first episode to like celebrate the occasion. But no, I wanted to do this solo. I'm on my Beyonce. And I figured, you know what? I want to explain to them what I want this podcast to be about, what it is about, and why it came to fruition, because that's very important to me. And that is the subject for today's episode, which is moving beyond the original plan. So if you don't know, I am an entertainment reporter. And it has been a journey. If I did not focus or if I did not follow my dream of being an entertainment reporter, I wouldn't be in LA. And that's really where my entertainment journey started. So when I moved to LA, I got an internship, did the internship for a few months. Then from the internship, I was able to start working red carpets. And I did that for 8 months before my big award show. And that was, at that time, the Teen Choice Awards. And I did all of that before even a year of being in LA. So once I did the Teen Choice Awards, which was like, I want to say in July of 2018, I remember my mom calling me after that and her just congratulating me and her reminding me of what I wanted for myself and, you know, the dream that I've always had of just working on the red carpet and interviewing celebrities and doing what I love to do. And one thing that sat with me that she said was, make sure you sit with this and, you know, really think about what you've done. And in that moment I did, but in actuality, I didn't understand what she meant. And so I went on a couple years after that to still do entertainment, wasn't making a lot of money, but still loving it and still working hard to, you know, be on a network one day, okay? And so the first thing that really changed my trajectory or an obstacle that got in my way was the pandemic. And when the pandemic came, not only was there no work in entertainment for a long time, but I had to sit with myself. And it was really the first time too that I even was like exploring LA. Like imagine I had been here for 3 to 4 years and I hadn't even really been like exploring the city. I also wanted to figure out like, you know, my future because I mean, it's fair, right? What does this mean with this pandemic? And for me, the pandemic taught me that I wanted to be financially secure and stable. And so I got a job in aviation and I worked my way up where I'm now a training supervisor for airport operations, and I love it. And not only do I get to interact with people, which now as I'm sitting in, you know, recollection and really thinking about what my true purpose is, it's really interacting with people, whether that's in media or not in media. In saying that, I've been able to incorporate media in my current job in aviation where I develop the training videos and do voiceovers and edit. So it's been very rewarding. I've had to change my vision of what I wanted for myself and what that looks like. And, you know, if a job doesn't have something that I like, maybe I can incorporate my passion into it so I like it more and it'll make my work more pleasing. And, you know, people have a respect for me because I'm able to not only produce entertainment content or social media content, but I can produce a training video for an airline. You know what I'm saying? So it's made me better. And sometimes when you are thrown off your trajectory, you have to be able to sit in the lesson. Sometimes people don't understand that there's a lesson for things. And I've been able to not only mature in the last few years, but really just see what God has planned for me. And faith is a huge thing, y'all. Like, you don't have to believe in God, you don't have to be religious, but it's really important for you to have faith. And for me, faith is super important because I've learned that with everything that's happened, and obstacles getting in the way of what I thought I was getting, I know that those were lessons, and it's made me a stronger person. It's made me more mature. And, once you learn how to get through something, it helps you get through the next thing. And so the fact that through all of that, I am here having a podcast on my own terms, it feels so good because I told myself when I come back to media, I want to own whatever I do. I want it to be able to work on my own terms and be myself and be authentic and be true to myself. And I'm doing that shit. And so it's one of those things too where, now even with media, I wasn't making a lot of money when I was doing, and interviewing Tokyo Tony. I didn't make money from that interview. I'm doing better now working for a magazine, a Black-owned magazine, and writing a few stories for them. I'm making more money doing that than I did then. So it's just kind of funny how life happens because sometimes it's like you're supposed to learn how to do something so you can amplify it later in life. And it was super hard during the pandemic because, for years I dreamt of being on E! News or Entertainment Tonight. I even still have the Entertainment Tonight logo on my vision board over here. But that's my point. You need to have purpose and you need to have vision for what you want for yourself. And despite the obstacles that might come in the way, tackle those obstacles head on, because once you get through it and you overcome it, you learn so much. And it's like whatever you just went through is nothing, because the next thing that happens, it might be, it's going to be a higher hurdle, but man, I bet you I'm going to take something from it and I'm going to be able to apply it for the rest of my life. And that's how I've been able to view life now, being more mature, going through therapy, and ultimately just want to be the best version of myself. The pandemic, working in aviation, it made me put a pause on media because it made me think about what I want my relationship with media to be moving forward. And for me, that's owning my own content, having my own platform. And another thing that I had to deal with, and man, shout out to the generations before me because I get it now. But man, when the generation of before me, what is this, Generation X? Oh Lord, what is the generation? Gen Z? It's Gen Z. Oh Lord, the Gen Zers, man. When they made TikTok pop, I was going crazy. I hated TikTok when it first dropped. It wasn't until I actually kind of tested it out and I was like, oh, damn, this is really dope. Like, not only can you research a bunch of things on TikTok, but I mean, if you're posting consistently, you can be popping on TikTok. And so I was starting to see really great results from TikTok. I'm like, okay, maybe I just need to change with the times. It's just taken me a moment to actually do that, but we're doing it. So it's really the sign of the times, and you have to be able to adapt. And that's part of being part of the industry. And once you're able to really face that and understand that you are going to have to change with the times in this industry, you're going to be fine. But the rise of TikTok reshaped journalism, and it made it harder for me to build a career in the traditional way. And slowly my dream started to shift and how I wanted my dream to look like. And the first thing, if you guys are going to really focus on your purpose, write it down. Write down the things that you want. And not just your career. Write down what you want your relationships to look like, what finances look like. Because once you write it down, it's always going to be a reminder, hey, this is something that we're working for, that we're, making a goal. It's always going to be in the back of your mind. And you have to be okay to adapt and understand that things are going to pop up, and you just cannot let those things that pop up deter you, and you cannot let it make you feel bad about yourself. And try to figure out what your purpose is and how you can focus that with money. Maybe what you really want to do has nothing to do with your current job, and it takes a lot for you to focus on your passion because your job takes so much time. Well, maybe you can think of a way of how to turn your current job and implement some of your passion in it. And that's what I had to do in aviation. The reason it took the podcast to take so long was, I wasn't ready. I needed to grow, I needed to mature, and I needed to go through more life experiences before I could fully capture what this podcast was meant to be. And I had to learn that obviously dreams can shift. But that doesn't mean failure. It doesn't mean that I have to stop doing it. It just means evolution. And man, if I had to do this podcast 5 years ago, I don't even know what I'd be talking about. I just know they'd probably be a hot ass mess, okay? But by understanding and embracing my passion in different ways, it's given me a different sense of fulfillment. And this podcast is a product of a lot of work that I've done. Yeah. Period. This podcast is a product of the work that I've done in the last 4 years, 100%. You know, I would like to think I'm a little bit more compassionate, empathetic. I'm a better listener, but baby, I'm not perfect. I'm still cutting up and still messing up here and there. But I'm doing the best I can with what I got. And that's all that matters, right? So if you find yourself questioning your dreams or wondering if you've outgrown them or feeling lost because your path looks a little different than you expected, know that it's okay. You know, it's not a failure, it's a change, and you just got to be able to own that shit and face it head on, get through it, and see what you can do because, baby, life is magical, and if you're really serious about your purpose and you understand that, and you're passionate about your purpose, then nothing can stop you. I really believe that the best things come when we allow ourselves to evolve and to follow what truly fuels us. So, you guys got a little taste of what this podcast is going to be about, but I want you guys to start thinking about ways that your passions manifest in your life. So, for me, I love multimedia journalism, broadcasting, and public speaking, but I've realized I can use these skills beyond traditional journalism. I apply them in my aviation job as a training supervisor where I interact with people and lead discussions. I also get to apply my skills in content creation for my current job creating training videos. At the same time, I use them in passion projects like this podcast and my TikTok content. So figure out what your passions look like and how you can apply them in more than one way, because that's how you really create a brand too. And like, I can create videos for an airline, and bitch, I can create a video for my own personal YouTube channel. You know what I'm saying? You just have to get clever and start just writing things down. And once you are able to write it down, like I mentioned earlier, you're going to be unstoppable. But it starts with writing things down and having a plan. So what I want you guys to do is this. Ask yourself, what are my core passions? In what ways can I apply these passions in different career paths or projects? And how can I incorporate them into my daily life, rather in a job, a side hustle, or a creative outlet? Give yourself freedom to explore different paths and understand that passion isn't confined to one dream. It can show up in many different ways. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the first episode of In Bed with Blair. I'm super excited for what's to come. If you guys are listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure you guys give it a thumbs up or rate it. And lastly, make sure you guys follow me on social media. I am Blair T on Twitter and Instagram. On TikTok, it is On Air with Blair. And make sure you guys subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. See you guys next time.